Hello, hello. My name is Sabrina Rising. I am a spiritual mentor and a psychic medium. Today, we're going to talk about karma and soul contracts, how to become aware of them, what their purpose is, and how to heal and rewire some of these, at times, painful relationships. So, the first question I'm going to ask you is, have you ever felt inexplicably drawn to someone, perhaps even in an obsessive way? Or have you ever felt stuck in a relationship cycle over and over and over again? You just can't seem to come out of this pattern of betrayal or abandonment or loss, or just fear. Perhaps you've been in a set of circumstances which has felt familiar. You don't know why you're there, but you just know that you're supposed to go through them. Okay. This is all because of karma and soul contracts. So let's talk a little bit about what karma is. There's a common misconception that karma is the law of cause and effect. And this is an oversimplification. Okay. Karma is essentially action. It means the decisions that we make have a certain karmic effect. They have an impact on our consciousness, on our trajectory, on the evolution of our soul, and they also impact, our choices also impact other souls as well. Okay, so we create karma for ourselves. We create karma that affects other people in interaction with people that we have soul contracts with. And we create karma from, we have accumulated karma from a past life, we have karma from this life, and we have karma from future actions that have yet to be made manifest. Okay, so karma is essentially about evolution. It's teaching us about how to be more enlightened, be more in alignment with our soul's essential nature. Okay. And so we come into this incarnation. This is my humble belief that we are born in order to experience the contrast of what it means to be human, right? To not remember our essential nature. And so, we come here to wake up to our essential nature. And we do that through a series of painful experiences that are set up by karmic circumstances that are usually predetermined before birth based on our past life circumstances, based on our past life choices. Okay. So you can make a choice. For example, a karmic choice can be distilled into two options: choosing love and choosing fear, right? So when you choose choices that are not loving, for example, we choose to act out of revenge or hatred or fear or sadness or any type of low vibrational frequency, anything that is really not loving. Okay, when we make these choices for ourselves and towards other people, then we're creating this karmic entanglement for ourselves and for these other souls that we are in soul agreements with. Okay, when we make choices that are loving, that are beneficial, that are in alignment with our soul's essence, we essentially create what's called good karma, right? Which is, it's not really good or bad. It's just beneficial in terms of allowing us to evolve as a soul and benefiting other souls that we might be in contract with or in relationship with in this current incarnation. Okay. And so before coming into this human life, we make agreements with other souls. It can be souls that we're going to have great relationships with, harmonious relationships with, beneficial relationships with, and also souls that can be adversaries or teachers, or as we see them perhaps as enemies. There's no such thing as an enemy. We're only here to teach each other more about love and to offer each other opportunities to choose love in the moment. That's the whole point of all of this. Okay. So we come into this human incarnation with past karma in place based on the choices I've made from a previous lifetime. If I have unresolved business or unfinished business with another person, or perhaps I was left sort of longing or with great attachments and great desire, my soul will choose to reincarnate in order to complete this unfinished business and to follow through on that desire or attachment. So I can learn to evolve and to neutralize this karma so I can continue this path of personal liberation. If we look at this just from a linear perspective, and of course, spiritual evolution is not linear, okay? But if we just look at this from a linear perspective, just to appeal to the logical brain, to make sure you're following along, is that we are essentially choosing to incarnate over and over and over again in order to get closer and closer to moksha or nirvana, which is the ultimate liberation of self, right? So we no longer need to have these human experiences to achieve liberation. If we look at human experience as simply a way to choose love and these deep painful lessons as an opportunity to see them as lessons in growth and expansion, and again opportunities to choose love, we allow ourselves to neutralize our karma. We become essentially free of karma, and we become liberated beings, in which case, at that level of consciousness, we can choose to come back simply as teachers, or to stay in human form as teachers, or perhaps to transcend the need to experience humanity altogether. Okay. And so that's another video. For today, we're just talking about karma and soul contracts and some of the relationships that you might be experiencing that are causing friction in your life. Okay. If there is that person in your life that you feel really, really drawn to, and it's like an on and off again situation, perhaps it's you're in a toxic cycle with each other. It feels like you're addicted to each other. It feels like there is this pain cycle that you just can't transcend. You're not relaxed around this person for whatever it is that you try. It doesn't seem to work, and so on. This is an example of a karmic relationship. There is karma with this person, and there is a soul contract to work out some of this karma so that you can heal. Okay. And the same is true, for example, if you are a parent and you have a very difficult dynamic, parent-child dynamic in your life with one of your kids. That child, you and that child may have agreed to come into human form with a contract for this. Perhaps you have a contract with this child to teach you about patience, about tolerance, about nurturing, about selflessness, about really being able to be present in love. Okay. And so I want you to start to see that the challenging relationships in your life are here as teachers. Okay. The ones that are harmonious and supportive and loving and nurturing are wonderful gifts. And we choose to pod with these people on a soul level. When we come into this human incarnation, we choose to pod with them because we need allies. We need a supportive presence in our life. Perhaps for you, it was a grandparent or a best friend or a spouse or someone that you could think of that is a positive influence in your life, that it just loves you unconditionally and supports you. Okay. So this is a blessing to have this type of relationship in your life. And all of these other relationships that can be more triggering or more challenging, especially the ones, as I mentioned, that feel compulsive and toxic, and you just can't get out of this cycle of pain with them. This is a karmic relationship. Karmic relationships are not meant to be long-term relationships either. Okay, they're meant to be short-lived, teaching you a very valuable lesson about yourself. It can be a lesson about standing up for yourself. It can be a lesson about advocating for your needs. It can be a lesson about setting healthy boundaries. It can be a lesson about learning to love yourself, about raising your standards for love and what you're going to allow, what you're going to tolerate in your life. Okay. And all of the above. All right. So karmic relationships, for example, you feel like you've known this person before. You feel like you've met them before. You feel like you're supposed to go through a series of experiences with them before. This might even be true about a place, right? You walk into, I remember it happened to me when I walked into a meditation hall for the first time, and I was like, oh, I've been here before. I felt that this was like something from a past life, and I had a karmic connection to this place, and I was meant to be there again to revisit some of the work that I hadn't finished in a previous lifetime. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So think about some of the places in your life that feel familiar, that feel like you've been there before, some of the people in your life that have felt like you've just known them. Okay. And sometimes this is a good thing, and sometimes it's not such a good thing. But I want to sort of remove the moral value judgment about what's good and what's bad, and really start to see your soul contracts as opportunities, again, for growth and expansion, and an invitation to find love within yourself in those difficult circumstances. Okay. So when you have unresolved karma with someone, it's going to be like a rubber band. It's sticky. You just can't get away from this person. You always find yourself being pulled back in because you have unresolved karma with them. Okay. And so there's different ways that you can choose to neutralize your karma in relationship and neutralize your karma in life. The key, again, is always to choose love and to show up in these relationship situations with compassion and non-judgment and awareness. Okay, the awareness that there is a karmic situation happening here, that there must be some kind of soul contract, that this person is a teacher in my life, that there's so much pain and friction here because I'm being guided to expand my tolerance, expand my capacity for compassion, for empathy, and to be able to show up peacefully, even in the face of abuse or mistreatment, challenging circumstances, chaotic circumstances. Okay, we all have the capacity to be strong, to stay anchored in the truth of ourselves, in our essence, in peace, no matter what's happening around us. Okay, and so take a moment, and you probably already know, based on what you've heard so far, who might be a karmic relationship in your life. It could be that ex that you can't get away from. It can be a child that you have in your life that you just have a really tough dynamic with. It can be a boss or a coworker, or someone who is, or a parent, someone in your extended family, someone where there is a sort of a prickly, sticky relationship. That person, that soul, and you have a contract in order to help both of you evolve. So we can serve ourselves in soul contracts, and we also, by serving ourselves, serve the other person. Okay. And this, of course, is a gift and a blessing to all beings, even though it doesn't feel like it in the moment. Okay. So here's some tips on how to become aware of karmic relationships and their soul contracts, their respective soul contracts, how to heal and how to rewire them. The first step is always awareness. Okay. So again, you can make a list and start to examine and reflect on some of the relationships in your life. Who feels karmic to you? What feels like, there's a heavy pull there, a heavy sort of a magnetic pull towards that person, and that you can't explain. As much as you want to stay away from them, you just keep feeling like you're being pulled in or drawn to this person. Okay. That's an example of a karmic relationship. So just be aware. Okay. The second step is to sort of notice what all the triggers are in that relationship. Okay. Does this person bring out the worst in you? Right? Do you feel like you go to deep, dark places within this relationship, or in this situation? It can be a situation as well. Do you feel like you don't have sovereignty over your reactivity? You feel like you don't have the grace to pause and behave in ways that you feel good about. Okay, so again, this is an opportunity to do some shadow work, right? And this is what karmic relationships are really about. It's about showing us where we're not loving ourselves, where we're not choosing love in life, and where we're not being loving towards other people. Okay, so making a list of what some of your triggers are. Okay, and the third step is forgiveness. Right. So we want to be able to forgive the people in our lives. This is how we neutralize. When we create tension, when we resisting what's happening, by wanting revenge or wanting to get even or wanting to hurt the person back or engaging in sort of tit for tat, consciousness, all we're doing is perpetuating this cycle of karma. The soul contract is not complete. It has not been neutralized. And so you're going to keep going at it over and over and over again in this lifetime, and perhaps the next lifetime, if we don't learn the lesson in this one. So we want to be able to bring awareness and to bring compassion and non-judgment in order to neutralize the relationship you have with this person or the relationship you have with this set of circumstances. Okay. And so this is very, very important that we become willing to be the bigger person, to sort of bring in a more neutral, more loving, more compassionate energy. And we do that by accepting that these circumstances are not happening to us, they're happening for us, in service to our highest and best good, as an opportunity to choose love. Essentially, that's all we're here to do, okay, is choosing love. That's how we neutralize karma. That's how we release soul agreements, and we call them fulfilled. Okay. And so through compassion and forgiveness, you can also renegotiate your karmic contract with someone through some deep inner work. So through soul regression work, and guided inner work processes that are similar to that, you can actually communicate with another human being's higher self even if the 3D versions of you are not getting along or can't seem to get through a conversation without it bursting into a fight or without misunderstanding, or perhaps that person is not available to you to talk to, a good technique is to go into a deep meditative state, perhaps with a guide, and be able to communicate with that person's higher self, your higher self and their higher self. Again, depending on where you are in your everyday choices, the gap between your 3D self and your higher self might be very, very wide. But that's, with inner work and with love and with intention and with willingness, you can reach another person's higher self and renegotiate your karmic contract. You can cut cords with another person through deep inner work as well. You can choose to for example, visualize this person in your life and visualize the attachment you have through, perhaps you have an attachment through a child you've had together, or perhaps you have an attachment through a past relationship experience, or some kind of physical addiction you might have with this person. Whatever the tie is, and see yourself cutting these cords and neutralizing the relationship from that perspective. Now, cutting cords alone is not going to do it if you don't have the willingness to release this person, to accept the lessons of the relationship as an opportunity for growth and expansion, as I mentioned before, as an opportunity to choose love. If you can't forgive this person, you're not going to be able to cut these cords. Okay, so these steps need to happen first, and then you can speak to the higher self or do the cord cutting and simply set an intention. Like, I release I release this person, whoever it is, fill in the blanks, from any soul contracts that we may have together. I declare them complete. I forgive them and send them back to the light with love and compassion. Again, and it's very important to be pure in your intention when you're letting these things go, when you're trying to heal, right? And so I've had to do this a few times in my life with some, people that I had difficult relationships with, where I've had to speak to their higher self and just, a request that we neutralize our agreement and that we stop hurting each other, right? And that we find peace on a higher self level, because on the 3D level, nothing I was trying seemed to be working for us. So with enough awareness and with an intention and a willingness to heal, to come out of anger, to come out of resentment, to come out of bitterness, and to come out of victim consciousness, essentially. Why is this person treating me this way or doing this? Or why are these circumstances happening? Why is this happening to me? So coming out of victim consciousness and saying, why is this happening for me? What is this trying to teach me about my life? What is this, what purpose is this serving? How is this inviting me to love myself more, or perhaps to be more loving as a person in general? Okay. There are people that are going to be really challenging for you to love. Okay. And I would just want to validate that. So of course, we're all human. We're not here to do any bypassing, to turn the other cheek when we're feeling wronged or when we're feeling mistreated and so on. It's very important that we advocate for ourselves and that we set proper boundaries. And sometimes the boundary setting alone will help you serve the soul contract and neutralize the karma between you and a loved one, or you and a relationship situation or a circumstance that might be troubling you. Okay. So it's up to you to sort of examine what the nature of the relationship is and what it's here to teach you. Okay. Keeping in mind, using as a guidepost, how is this teaching me to love myself more, to be more loving as a person in general, and to be more loving towards this situation or towards this other person involved? Okay, so use that as your sort of frame of reference when you're doing this type of work. Okay, and you can also neutralize karma by choosing intentional actions. Okay, so really training yourself to pause when agitated, when you're in a reactive state. I mean, this is everything, and I teach this in my inner child programs, my inner work programs, in my soul regression containers as well. Just being able to pause when you're agitated, creating a gap between your reaction and what you're going to do in that moment of reaction. And this is not for the faint of heart. It really takes a strong willingness to be able to pause and take some deep diaphragmatic breaths and choose consciously. Okay, so you can change your karma with someone, can't change your karmic patterns, and essentially neutralize your karma by creating intentionally loving, intentionally peaceful actions, making sure that they're coming from an authentic place, not from a place of bypassing your feelings. We got to feel what we're feeling and honor ourselves and validate the experience we're having. And then we get to choose how we're going to respond, how we're going to show up. Of course, keeping in mind that we always want to act and behave in ways that we can feel at peace with, in ways that feel good. And you'll notice in your own body that it doesn't feel good to harbor a resentment. It doesn't feel good to be at odds with somebody. It doesn't feel good to be stuck in a toxic cycle with another person. It can be very draining, very unhealthy. It doesn't feel good to be, adversarial with another being, because that's not our nature. Our nature is loving. Our essential nature is peaceful. We want to be at peace. We want to be. It feels good to be, to be getting along with people and to feel loving, supportive vibes in all of our relationships and in all of our life circumstances. And we can create that by choosing how we show up, by choosing how we react, and by choosing what we say or do, the actions we take that affect not only our current life, but also the people that we're in soul contracts with, the people that we have karma with. And so we can't do anything about what's already passed, but what we can do is neutralize some of the lessons that keep reoccurring as a result of past choices. Okay, so if you've made difficult or unloving, I want to say, choices in your past, and they keep showing up, you every day you have an opportunity to make a different choice, right? To choose more intentionally, to choose more peacefully, to choose to be more loving, regardless of what's already transpired. And I'm a firm believer that even if you have a relationship that feels broken or beyond repair, with enough willingness and enough courage to take ownership and to take personal responsibility for how you've shown up in that relationship, you can repair any connection, even if it's just for the purpose of bringing it to a neutral place where there's no hard feelings anymore. Okay, that doesn't mean you have to be in love. It doesn't mean you have to be friends. It doesn't mean you have to, have this person in your life. Okay, it just means bringing it back to that neutral place of there is no hard feelings. There's no karma between us anymore. We've evolved. We've transcended our karma, and the attraction is no longer there. And you might notice this in your life. If you have done some inner work and you've neutralized certain karmic patterns in your life, and you've, fulfilled certain soul contracts, you'll feel it in your body. The karma between us is complete. Like, there's no longer a draw. There's no longer a pull to this person or this situation. I've learned the lesson that I need to learn from this situation. I've allowed it to inform my choices, my actions, my belief in myself about who I am. I've allowed it to help me grow and expand into a better, more peaceful, more loving version of myself. So I don't need this anymore, right? I've moved on. I can move on from this relationship. I can move on from this circumstance, okay? Keeping in mind that most relationships and most circumstances, especially the ones that are challenging, are meant to be temporary phases of evolution and growth. Okay, this is not a forever thing. The forever relationships are soulmate relationships. These are different relationships. They're people that we have contracts with to be in long-term connection with, people that are supportive, that are loving, the people that you feel relaxed around, that sort of help you regulate your nervous system just by being in their presence. Okay, those are different types of relationships. Today we're talking about karmic relationships and soul contracts with certain people that can be very challenging and very difficult, and how to heal and rewire them. I hope this content was helpful. If you've ever experienced a karmic relationship or a soul connection, or you felt like you had some kind of soul contract with someone in your life, and you've felt very challenged by it, please leave it in the comments. I'd love to read about it. I'd love to hear if this video was helpful, and if you have any questions about how to heal some of the most challenging circumstances or relationships in your life. I will see you on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific for Oracle Hour. Join me. If you have any questions and you want to talk to me live, I do a free show every Wednesday, again at 5 p.m. Pacific. I'll see you soon. All my love.